Okay, everybody. Hello, hello, and welcome. My name is Kim Snider. Excuse me. I am the founder of Sync2CRM. According to my watch, it is straight up 5 o'clock where I live, so we are going to go ahead and get started, and I am thrilled that you are here. All of you, I appreciate it. So while we were waiting, I just had this little slide up that in the modern world of marketing, the engine of every business is the marketing funnel. I absolutely believe that to be true. Back in the day, we could rely on product, we could rely on branding, but we live in a very exciting time. And the way that we market our businesses and grow our businesses is changing almost daily. And at the center of that right now is this idea of the marketing funnel. And there is no better way to fill that marketing funnel than Facebook advertising. And that's going to become increasingly true over the coming years. And so we are going to talk about exactly that this evening. In fact, the specific topic, change slides and I missed. The specific topic that we're going to be talking about tonight is how to find your target audience on Facebook, no matter what you sell or who you sell it to. And I included that subtitle because there are so many myths about who you can't reach on Facebook that are just completely unfounded and untrue. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit, but mostly we're going to get into the nitty-gritty about how to find your target market. Now, the good news is I'm looking over the attendees, and I know a lot of you. There are a number of friendly faces in the crowd, but there are also a lot of new faces. So just for those of you who don't know me, here is a mercifully brief introduction, and then we will move on. Again, my name's Kim Snider. I'm the founder of 13 companies, including my most recent, which is Sync2CRM. Company number 9 was number 826 on the 2008 Inc. list of fastest growing privately held companies in America. In fact, we were on the Inc. list 2 years running, but we were a little lower in 2009, it would take up too much room on the slide. But I am an Infusionsoft certified partner, certified developer, and among some of the things I'm proudest of is the fact that I was named Infusionsoft's 2014 most helpful partner. I live in Aiken, South Carolina on a farm with my husband, dogs, and horses, and my passion outside of business is playing polo. Steven says he has no audio, but I am going to assume that the rest of you do, or you would have said something by now. So can you guys, yep, thanks, Mike. Good, Janelle, thank you. All right, let me just quickly check in with Steven. You guys give me 2 seconds to do that. This is good. Disconnect. Reconnect, and let me just send that privately to him. Okay, very good. Thanks, y'all, for I normally check that before I get started. So that's a little bit about me. So let's dive into the topic. I'm going to have a few slides, but I'm going to try to spend the majority of time this evening over in the Facebook Ad Manager. All right, and I also want to remind you, thank you, Janelle, for reminding me. Yes, I'm recording. Thank you. I want to remind you, though, that I really want to make sure tonight to get all of your questions answered. So feel free to put those up as we go along. This is going to be a very interactive, by the way, so in case you're wondering, this is not a pitch webinar. There's no pitch at the end coming, okay? So, this is a class, really, and so feel free to treat it as such and ask questions as we go along. I will leave plenty of time at the end to make sure that I get as many of those answered as y'all want to throw my way, okay? All right. Checking good. Steven's gonna log out and log back in. All right, very good. One of the things I dislike about doing Keynote or any of these with GoToWebinar is that when you click between them to manage questions or comments, then you lose your ability to move the slide deck forward. So anyway, let's talk about a little epiphany that I had. And to be honest, you know when you, like, the obvious is just staring at you in the face, and then when you finally realize it and you're like, just duh. You feel so stupid because it really was so obvious. Well, I had one of those just yesterday, in fact. I was doing the Facebook Live that I do every Tuesday at noon Eastern time. I assume many of you have seen at least one of those, I hope. And if you haven't, then you should go to the Sync2CRM page at noon on Tuesdays, because I think I think they're very helpful and good. They're sort of like this actually, but just not scheduled. And the topic yesterday was 3 Facebook ad metrics that need to die. And for those of you who didn't see it, the ad metrics were page likes, click-through rate, and conversion rate. And then I talked about what you should be looking at instead. And those 2 things, those of you who know me, the second one won't be any surprise at all. That was ROI. But the first one was relevance score. And as I was getting ready for today, it just really sunk in this morning that, you know what? I mean, the problem with ROI in measuring it, I mean, there's no question it is the gold standard in your campaigns. The ultimate goal is out of these ad campaigns is not just to get a name on your email list or get someone pixeled or get someone to visit your website or a page like it is ultimately to create a buyer and a buyer at a profit, to acquire a new customer at a profit. That's our goal. And as such, ROI has to be the most important thing. However, it's a hard thing to measure. And there is a software that I recommend called Wicked Reports. Many of you have heard me talk about it, and Wicked can do that. But what the epiphany was yesterday, I was talking about the fact that relevance score, which is a number that Facebook gives us, relevance, is actually highly correlated and highly predictive of a successful campaign. And since this ROI thing is such a struggle for everybody, shouldn't we just be looking at relevance score? And in fact, the more I thought about it, the more I realized that with that in mind, that the way to teach, understand, and manage Facebook ads is as a game. And so we're going to call it the Facebook game, okay? And, you know, I could geek out right here on the elegance of Facebook's business model, which to me is like the first wonder of the modern business world, but I won't, you know. But what Facebook's business model all boils down to is relevance. So this is the objective of the Facebook game. It's how Facebook plays the game, and it is how you must play it. And fortunately, Facebook gives us this nice, neat metric called relevance score for keeping score in their game. So let's talk about this relevance score. Kieran, you should be seeing a slide. No, not with ROI. You should be seeing a slide deck. Okay, very good. Okay. Ron, I am definitely not saying that you won't need Wicked, but I get that a lot of people struggle with that, particularly when they're first getting started. Okay, so this could be an alternative. Then it might be. I mean, that's kind of what I'm coming to. We'll see how it goes. So let's talk about relevance score. Karen says Wicked is really, in capital letters, important. I agree. I don't know how you can manage an ad campaign without it. But that said, let's hear me out, because this may go a long way. Okay. All right. So for those of you who are not familiar with relevance score, it is a number between 1 and 10 that Facebook assigns to every single ad and every single ad set after it has a reach of at least 500. So they have to have shown it to at least 500 people before they will show you any sort of this relevance score. Okay. And you can see the relevance score in your reports. And we can look, when I jump over into the Facebook Ad Manager, I will show you that. But what it does is it combines a bunch of different engagement metrics, including, all the things that you would expect, right? Things like clicks on your ad, likes on the ad and on your page as a result of the ad, comments, shares, views, the amount of time, if you're doing video, how much of the video did they watch? If they click through from the ad to your site, then they also measure how long do they spend on your landing page, because remember there's a pixel there, so they know all that. If there are any negative reviews, either there's some question as to whether that angry face in the likes counts against you, but for sure when someone says hide in the timeline, then that's a negative review. All of those things go into this score, this relevance score. And the beauty of the relevance score is, as I said earlier, it is as good a predictive indicator of an ad's ultimate success as we have. And again, by ultimate success, what I mean is that the person interacting with your ad is highly likely to be your buyer if you can, this is the big caveat, of course, because it's not magic, okay, but if you can successfully and skillfully move them down your funnel, okay? So, cool. So let's think about this as a game, okay? If this is a game, there we go, come on, slide. Then the objective of the Facebook game is a relevance score of 8 or better on every single one of your ads. And like all games, when you first start, this is going to be hard. And even when you've been doing it for a while, sometimes it's hard. I mean, particularly when you're at the top of your funnel, trying to get, people who've never heard of you, to interact with your ad and get that relevance score up. But that's okay, because like all games, with practice and persistence, you will gradually get better and better. That's the process. For those of you who have been in my programs and you hear me talking about, the fact that the expectation that you can just go out and be good at Facebook advertising, even once you've got, is not realistic, and that it's a process of figuring out what works and what doesn't. And then anytime you start over with a different sort of campaign, even then you're going to have to somewhat start at the beginning, right? And so this idea of a game, I think, is a really good metaphor. All right. So the question is then, if this is the way that we're going to keep score, and the way we're going to, by reaching this goal of 8 or better, that we are going to create ads that work for us, what are the levers that you can use to get your relevance score above 8 and win at this great Facebook game? Well, that is where today's topic comes in, because your relevance score is going to be determined by how well you do two things. One is your ad creative and offer. And by offer, what I mean by that is it's putting, because here's why I'm hesitating, right? This word has different meanings. When we think of offer in the traditional sense, we mean the ultimate thing that we want them to buy, or a discount or whatever. But in this case, that's not what I'm talking about. At each step in the process, with each ad that moves them through your customer journey towards becoming a buyer, there is something that you want them to do, right? And you are almost bribing them in a way, right? Or convincing them to move down that funnel. And so in that context, when I say offer, what I mean there is putting the ideal thing in front of that Facebook user at the right time, given their relationship with you at that time, or lack thereof, to get a positive response from the ad, right? That's what I mean when I say offer. And then the creative is obvious. That's just, the images, copy, and or video that you use to do it. Okay. So that is one part. Okay. But that's a topic for another day, and comes after today's topic, which is the other part. And that is audience targeting. This is who you tell Facebook to put your ad in front of and when. And as you're about to see, this is some really, to me, it's just mind-blowing stuff that Facebook allows you to do in terms of ad targeting. So the general rule is this: the more generic your creative and your targeting, the lower your relevance score will be. And the better or more specific they are, the higher it will be. Okay? So this is a really key concept if you want to run successful ads. Specificity. Okay? This is so highly correlated with relevance, which makes sense, I think. Okay? So when you look at your campaigns that don't work, right, it's usually either a timing issue, meaning you are offering them the wrong thing at the wrong time, or your targeting and creative aren't specific enough, or both. That's it, right? So given that this specificity is so important, then I'm going to back up for just a minute and talk about your customer avatars. So this is the 9-step system that I follow and teach. Some of you have been through my program, and so you know this inside out. And step 1 in this 9-step process is to define your customer avatars and their customer journey. And I have to tell you that this is where almost all of us go wrong, including me. I mean, this is the hardest step, honestly, because it's the foundation for everything else. Everything else, that specificity and relevance that I'm just talking to you about, is all predicated on getting step 1 right. And because we get impatient, right, and we just want to jump right into creating ad campaigns, and we don't take the time to do this and understand this, you know, when it really matters and it's so important is what makes it so hard. Because again, the only way to win the Facebook game is with high relevance score. And the only way to do that is to break your customers into very specific segments, because each segment or avatar, okay, that's just a fancy name really for, you know, by you take your segment and you basically name that person. In fact, I'm going to explain, I'll give you my avatars here in a second. You'll see what I mean by avatar for those of you who aren't familiar with the term. You know, each of those segments will have different pain points and motivations, and you know, they will use different language, right? And you know, if you want to get relevance scores of 8s, 9s, and 10s, then those people who see your ad have to look at it and think, oh my gosh, has she been listening to my phone calls? I mean, like it literally has to speak to them, right? And you can't do that when your avatar is small business owners. That's not an avatar, okay? So let me give you some examples of some possible different avatars for my group coaching program, just as an example, okay? So you can see what it looks like. And well, never mind. I'll just keep going. So for example, right? One could be, we'll call him, well, we'll name him in a second. So he's male, 45 years old, and sells a physical product online. In terms of his main tools, he uses Infusionsoft and Shopify, and he's doing about $500,000 in revenue, has one person helping him with customer service. Other than that, he does everything else himself. Now, his goal is to get to $1 million by the end of next year. He's been running Facebook campaigns, but not having a lot of success. He hasn't taken any courses or any training. He's mostly self-taught, and we're going to name this avatar Brad. Okay, so that's one avatar. Now, another is a stay-at-home mom, age 34, with 2 kids, ages 7 and 9, who writes a mommy blog and just wanted to start earning some money on the side. So she created a course about time management tips for moms. She has taken both Amy Porterfield's Facebook course and her courses that convert, but so far all of her sales have come from her blog, because even though she's taken the Facebook course, she's afraid to start running ads because she's afraid she will lose money. Okay, now I just made that up. You know, and I could keep going, right? Let's just imagine another one, and I won't do it, but, you know, imagine another one could be new retirees who are starting an entrepreneurial business after they retire, right? Which is a huge segment of people. Another one could be people who provide professional services like doctors, lawyers, dentists, whatever, right? So can you see how your ads would be completely and totally different for each one of these different avatars, right? At least if you want scores of 8, 9, and 10. And so, because there's just no way you're going to talk the same to Annette and Brad, right? I mean, every single thing about them is completely different. Okay, so it starts with this idea of the avatar and their journey. And so what you're going to do, so here's, so as soon as I start, here's the other reason why we get impatient with step one, which leads to what, this this ad targeting, by the way. You have to know your avatar really, really, really well. You have to be in their head in order to figure out where they live. But the reason we get impatient with this is because the first thing we think of, including me, as soon as I say that, is like, oi, like that is going to be so much work. I have to create not just one campaign, but multiple campaigns that speaks to each one of my different avatars. The answer is yes, you do. If you want, because if you don't, if you just say, well, I'm not going to do that, I'm just going to put my course out there, just as a generic audience and, generic landing page and generic ad. Well, that's why you're losing money on these things. You can never be successful doing it that way. So, if you look at that and go, oh my gosh, I can't do that, that's okay. So you always want to just start with one anyway. Do not try to define 5 and then create 5 ad campaigns all at the same time. What you're going to do is you're going to break them apart and start with just one. Right? This is a game. It's like you don't go out and try to play NFL football the first time you pick up one. Okay. So you start slowly. You start with one. You learn how to find that one, speak to that one, get your relevance score going up, 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 up over time. And right. And then for one thing, you're much more likely to have a buyer having just focused on that one segment than if you lumped them all together into one big category and put out a generic ad. And then once you figure it out and you've figured out how to get those up to 8s and 9s and 10s, then now you've got, now you know how to do it again, basically, right? And then you can go basically copy that and do it over and over for different language, of course, but do it over and over again for each one of your segments or avatars, okay? So hopefully that made sense to everybody. I'm basically just kind of backing up in order to lay the foundation so that you can understand what I'm saying here. Okay. So I see I've got a couple of different questions and comments. I'm gonna leave those for now. I will come back to those. Okay. All right. So that's the prerequisite. Let me just one more thought about this before I move to the next slide. So again, my point is, in order to be able to find your target audience on Facebook, right, which I am getting to, I promise, you have to know who they are first. And if the way that you score in this game that we're going to be playing is relevance, then you've got to be very, very specific. So we've all just got to get over this idea that you are narrowing your audience and leaving people out, because I think that's also part of it. Part of it is it's a lot of work. The other part of it is this fear of missing out, right? But the thing is it easier to fish in an ocean or a barrel? Well, there may be a lot more fish in the ocean, but it is a lot easier to catch the 2 or 3 that you need in the barrel. And that's the idea behind getting down to specific avatars and going just after those. Okay, so with that as a prerequisite, the way that I'm thinking about this is basically like keeping with the game metaphor. It's time for us to go on a treasure hunt. Okay, so your target audience is going to be your treasure, and now we have to go find them. Okay, so how are we going to do that? Well, I'm gonna actually jump in, as I said, to Ad Manager and do this as live. Okay, show you how I might do this. I'm going to do 2 examples tonight. I'm going to do a B2C example and a B2B example, and here are these are going to be my examples. One is, we're going to imagine that you are the creator of the new Self journal, which is a journal that I love and use every day and recommend highly. So we're going to pretend like we were the creators of that. And how would we find the target market for that and with Facebook ads? And then we're going to do a B2B example, because everybody thinks you can't do B2B. I thought about all kinds of different possible examples for this one, but the one I finally decided on is we're going to be the marketing director for an 850 room convention hotel in a major metropolitan area. And we're going to figure out how to target that as well. Just a note about who you can and can't advertise to on Facebook while we're on this topic, because obviously the B2B one is one of those myths. There's a bunch of other ones, like, that you can't target to the mature, we'll call them the mature crowd, a bunch of different things. All of those are absolutely positively ridiculous, just so that you know. The rural market, I mean, here's the thing. There's two things. So first of all, there are 1.5 billion people on Facebook every day. Billion with a B. Your target market is there, I promise. And the second thing is that Facebook's algorithms are brilliant at finding them for you. You just have to know how to help them help you. So let's see. I was going to jump into Facebook right here, but actually I want to do one more thing first. I want to go over quickly the different targeting options that are available in Facebook, because I think it's a lot easier for you to see them in the infographic that I sent over in the cheat sheet than it is on Facebook's ad platform. So let's do that. We're going to take a few minutes to go through that together. Really, literally, what time do we have? Oh yeah, we're in good shape. We'll take a few minutes. I think it's going to really help you to be thinking about different ideas for your own target market, about how you could find them and target them while I'm going through these two examples. So the infographic was this one. Again, it was in the cheat sheet. Oh, of course, I can't get to that. It was in the cheat sheet that I sent over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of this, and we'll go just pull that up on my desktop and look at it that way, and then we'll jump into Facebook, okay? So let me just do this. Let me get that and copy that and get that out of here, and hang on. Here we go. This way you guys can see this big. So this was an infographic that the nice folks over at WordStream did. And so, yeah, Mike, there was a cheat sheet. It should have come in an email to you. Well, actually, it was both on the thank you page and in an email that I sent right after you registered. So, and I can absolutely put that in the chat. Hang on 1 second. There you go. Thank you. Okay. So yeah, so the WordStream folks did this, and it's so good. There's no point in reinventing the wheel, right? So I'm just going to show you theirs. So this is literally all of the different targeting options that Facebook has available to you right now. So we'll just run through them again. Let me just see if I can make that one. Nope. I thought I could make it one bigger, but I can't. Okay, so just, Facebook, they have these broken out by demographics, interests, and I think connections. Oh, behaviors and connections, all right? And then remarketing. So let's just go through them really fast. It's astounding, actually, the amount of data that Facebook knows about you. So first is location. Right? And you can, as you're going to see when we do the B2B example, you can target countries, counties, cities, zip codes, addresses, DMAs, and even, by the way, that's not available in all countries, as they say, right? You can even say, I want everybody who is within X miles of this radius. Of this location. And it goes up to 50 miles out, as you're going to see. And they give you a couple of different options as well, right? So you can do everyone who's in this location currently, right? Everyone who was recently in this location, or people who will be traveling to this location. And Facebook obviously knows all those things. The other thing that's wild is that they have come out with some new targeting options. It's coming soon, specifically for retail. And they're going to be able to say when one of their users is within 150 feet of your store, which is kind of crazy. All right, so that's one. Age, obviously, you'll see that we can do minimum and maximum age. A lot of times you don't want to mess with this because you're just going to want Facebook they can figure it out. That's what the algorithm is best at. So don't screw them up. Let Facebook figure it out for you. But sometimes you're going to want to just narrow that down with age. You can do obviously gender, men, women, or both. You can do languages. So typically you would not use this when you are only targeting countries that speak your same language. But for example, let's just say I was targeting Germany, Ireland, and Sweden. All right. So what I would want to do here is put in this language English UK and English US, right? To say, yeah, I want you to target people who meet my criteria in those 3 countries, but one of those criteria is that they have to have indicated, or you have to believe that they speak English. Otherwise, obviously, I don't want to put my ad in front of them. That would be a waste of money. Okay, so language is one. Relationship status. So Facebook is very open-minded, as we know, right? And so they have all of these various statuses, relationship statuses. You can see all of those yourselves. I don't need to read them to you, as well as interested in, men and women, unspecified. So those are all things you can target on. In terms of education level, you can say what education levels have they achieved, what was their field of study, what schools did they attend, and in what years were they doing their undergrad. This is often an interesting one so let me just give you some examples here. When you are trying to think about other ways to find professionals, so who might have, the obvious ones would be lawyers, doctors, dentists, etc. Right? So you can find, dental schools and law schools, business schools, etc. And sometimes use that as part of your treasure hunt. Employers. Now this is a really interesting one. This one's kind of hard as a target, because, so like you could say IBM or Ford or, and they have to be reasonably big, obviously, for Facebook to recognize them. But, even the big ones don't have enough employees that, like you'd have to put 1,000 employers in here. However, there are definitely some interesting use cases I've heard of using employers. One of the more obvious ones is as, like when you want to create an audience, this isn't necessarily your target audience, but let's say you want to create an audience of, influencers, for example. So the press, everybody who works at the Huffington Post, the New York Times, the Washington Post, etc. Now, are you going to get some people who aren't reporters? Yes, but in there, right, you're going to also get all the reporters, for example. So things like that. I've heard of people trying to get jobs who just basically targeted everybody at a particular employer with an ad telling them why that they should hire them, things like that. Those are more creative things. I haven't really found a good use for employers yet, but besides those edge cases, but not for targeting my whole audience. They have job title, they have industry. I actually don't find these that useful. Anytime I've tried to use either job title or industries, they don't typically perform well. I don't know why. They're usually self-reported, but for whatever reason, they just don't seem to work for me. So I tend to stay away from these and try to figure it out other ways. You can get both in this financial is not available in all countries. I believe it's only the US, in fact, where you can target someone by both income and or net worth, either liquid or total. You can also target them by what sort of home they live in, home, whether they own or rent, and whether, who all lives in their home, right? Veterans, new team drivers, young and hip, young adults in the home, housemate, grandparents, those are all interesting. These don't particularly work all that well for me either. So these office types, home office, small business, small office, but by the way, when I say absolutely every time someone says this does or doesn't work for me, you should still always test something, because just because it doesn't work for me doesn't mean it isn't going to work for you. So just saying office type small business hasn't been very useful for me in getting to small businesses, but that may just be the way I'm going at things. Ethnic affinity, what generation, baby boomer, Gen X, millennials. Okay, parents. So this is obviously easy for certain target markets. Parents, moms, right? Big city moms, corporate moms, fit moms, green moms, new moms, soccer moms, stay-at-home moms, trendy moms. I like that. Okay, and then we have life events, right? Anniversary coming up. They are away from their hometown, which that's a little scary. Facebook shouldn't know that. I mean, they do, I know, but they really shouldn't. Like, people could rob you while you're gone. Anyway, you can see all of those. What your political views are is also a targeting option. So those are all what they call demographics. Okay. Now, then we have, because these are binary. What I mean by that is they're known. I think the difference is like these are kind of known, whereas interests are more inferred by Facebook based on what you do. Yeah, well, it says right here, based on what you do, what pages you like, how long you spend on certain things, who your friends are, etc. They infer a lot of these interests. Okay. And they've got these interests by, as you can see, business and industry, but there's bazillions of these. I mean, within each one of these, as you'll see, and you'll see how we find them here in just a second if you're not familiar with it. In each one of these categories, there are just tons and tons of targeting options available. They have, again, well, never mind. I won't even go to that. I'll just show you. So family relationships, fitness and wellness, food and drink. Here are hobbies, pets, etc., shopping and fashion, technology, and sports and outdoors. All right, so we'll look at all of that, kind of how that all works. And then they have behaviors. So this is also more known. Okay. These are inferred, these are known again. So, and this just comes from, they aggregate records, from all kinds of different sources. So they know, did you just buy a vehicle? Are you shopping for a vehicle? What type do you own? Here's B2B, how long have you been? What industry, company size? Do you donate money and what do you donate it to? Here are your digital activities, for example, the operating system used, etc. Right? Event creators. That's interesting. Small business owners, early or late, technology, etc. Are you an expat? Are you in finance? What's your job role? Media. So you can see all these, right? Very interesting. And then finally, connections. These two are two of my favorite, and people who like your page, as well as friends of people who like your page. Right now, those are two of my best performing audiences. If you do apps, then they have that similarly for apps and events. I use these a lot. And then finally, you can retarget. So you can do people who visited your website, specific pages on your website, certain pages, but not other pages, based CRM data, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So that's just a big overview of all of the targeting that's available to you. So what I'm going to do now, because we're going to jump in and start working on this example, is I'm going to stop and see what we've got in the questions and comments. Okay. Going back to segmenting and avatars, Ron says super important. Also makes everything much easier. Karen, do you need different targets or avatars if you're using one lookalike audience? Yes. Yeah. I mean, you can come up with lookalike. Those are two different things. Okay. So you're creating, just so everyone understands the question. So lookalike audience, once you have a group or a target audience, which we're going to do here in a minute, that is working for you, then you have the ability to say to Facebook, now go out and find me, 2 million people in the United States who look very similar to this group who's working for me so well. And that's called a lookalike audience. And there are many things, many different ways to seed your lookalike audience, but basically it comes down to a target audience that you've already tested and is working well. That's the only reason you would create a lookalike audience. And so the question of different avatars and lookalike audiences are two totally separate things. Because again, you have to know who your avatar is. You have to make sure that you're specific enough that when you put your ad in front of them and the language that you use resonates with them, so that they react in a way that gets your scores up to the 8s, 9s, and 10s. And there's no way you're going to be able to do that if you don't have specific avatars. So those two are kind of not really connected. Hopefully that answers your question. All right. Karen says, right on, clients are so afraid of this, meaning the narrowing your audience and speaking to them specifically, being afraid of missing out. Okay. Absolutely. Nadine just has a great example of when you would use employer. She says, I want to target Keller Williams and Century 21. Absolutely. There you go. That's a very great use case. Newt says, I don't have any financial my power editors or different options in different countries. Yes, I said it right. Okay, very good. And do you have a paged version of this cool doc? I do not. And Nadine says she only found 103,000. So that, even though we know that's a lot more than what is out there, that may be the only ones that identify themselves as working and having a Facebook account, but still that's a pretty good starting point. So good. Okay. All right. So those are questions, comments. Let's move on. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start with the B2C example. All right. And remember that the B2C example was I'm the creator of the self journal, and it will help you a lot if you don't know the self journal, which I highly, highly recommend. I spend at least an hour in every single morning without fail. So I'll come here and kind of explain what it is just very, very quickly. So it helps align. See, by the way, this is what an agency would have to do for any new clients, part of the process. Helps organize and align your tactical day-to-day tasks with your larger life goals. Okay. And then, so reach your goals faster, make success inevitable, simple and distraction free, right? Freedom and structure. And then if you look at, if you look at their, shop or gallery, I think you'll kind of get a sense of who their user might be, maybe. See, goal, self, fuel your success, never stop learning, turn on the hustle, turn off the bullshit. The more people you help, the greater chances of success, etc. Right? You can buy one of these posters from them. You kind of can get the idea about who might be the target audience for this, right? So before I show you where I'm going to go with this, who do you all, or what are your ideas for how you might find your target market for this product? Why don't you guys quickly throw some things in the questions? How might you find this target market? Okay, Mike says education level. Ron says age range, belong to a Tony Robbins site. Newt says female, 36, mother of 2, full-time work. Janelle says women, 35 to 50, entrepreneurs, college educated. Okay, so Janelle and Newt, what you're giving me is an avatar. But if I'm going to target these people in Facebook, telling Facebook how to put my ad in front of my avatar, what of all those targeting options that I just showed you, how do you think you are going to do that? Okay. So Jim is saying self-employed MLM workers is the avatar. Ron says Amy Porterfield site viewers. Okay. So let's do this and I'll show you how I would do it. So when I look at this, what this tells me, and plus I'm, a customer, and so I can use myself a little bit, but pretty much what this tells me, right? These are the founders right there, is that, that anybody who's going to order this is their goals are success, productivity, time management, peak performance, all those kinds of things. Okay. So in order to find my person, and we would have, obviously we need to, pick male or female, what have you, but here is where I'm going to go with this. So you've got a couple of tools that are available to you. Now, one tool that is kind of useful only in B2C is, hang on, I'm in the wrong spot. Let me just go to my account here for a second. See if it's going to give me, it's called Audience Insights, and from Ad Manager, you go to All Tools, it's right there, Audience Insights, and it really doesn't tell you a lot when you're doing B2B. So we'll do that a different way. But on B2C, it's quite useful. So you can if you have enough people who are friends of your page, fans of your page, can get audience insights on them or a custom audience if it's big enough. But I'm going to start with everyone on Facebook. And for now, we'll say United States, even though we clearly would not want this to, I'd be advertising this all over the world. As you can see, they do, because you can just watch and get a lot of information. But let's just do the United States for right now. We'll leave it 18 to any, and we'll leave all for the moment. And now what I'm going to do is, just like you said, I'm going to start putting in some different things. So I have some different ideas about who that sort of person might be interested in. Tim Ferriss immediately comes to mind, right? As a potential interest. So if I come here to Audience Insights and I say, what are in the United States, Tim Ferriss is 23% women, 78% men, mostly under the age of 35. I don't really care that much about any of these things that they tell me, but I am quite interested in what pages they like and who else. So this will tell me that people who like Tim Ferriss, they also like Gary Vaynerchuk. It is only no. This is not available, only US. You have to be in your ad manager, and it has to be a paid ad management account, and it should be, I'm in the business manager. And as soon as I got out of that, I ended up in the wrong place. I'll show you those directions here in just a second. But okay, so Gary Vaynerchuk, what else would be interesting to me here? Okay. So that tells me a little bit, I mean, if in terms of just getting in the head of who is the typical Tim Ferriss user, okay, that tells me a lot. Beats by Dre, I can see the athletes, etc. And then when I look and I see, okay, who is a Tim Ferriss user likely to over index for? Interesting. Nothing. I mean, yeah, nothing I'm going to start with other than Gary Vaynerchuk. So that's good. Let's look at some other ones just for fun. So let's look at Tony Robbins. For sure, he comes to mind. Actually, you know what? I think he's under Anthony. Hang on. I think Anthony Robbins. That says actor, doesn't it? Hope that's the right one. Nope, that is not it. That's his foundation. One of the things I don't like about this, 2 to 2.5 million active people. Yeah, that's him. Okay, so here's some interesting things. Napoleon Hill, that's a good one. Barbara Corcoran, Shark Tank, Millionaire Mindset, Think and Grow Rich, The Power, Robert Kiyosaki, Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, right? All of these, Law of Attraction, right? Smart, Addicted to Success. These are all, every single one of these are potential targeting options, every single one of them, for finding my ideal audience, okay? Success Magazine, Jim Rohn, right? John Maxwell, every single one of these. Yep. Okay. So that kind of tells me who my person is and how I'm going to target them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the ad manager, and I'm just going to show you what this would look like. Now, to be clear, this is your first ad right now. This is to what we call, this is when we're trying to target cold traffic, meaning people who've never heard of the Self Journal. You're going to show them content, something to start to warm them up before you show them an ad to get them to buy the journal, okay? And so right now we're just treasure hunting, trying to find our ideal target audience who's going to buy from us and be able to put a highly relevant ad in front of them that's going to get us ultimately eventually 8s, 9s, and 10s on the Relevance Score. All right, so I'm going to come over here. I'm not going to do Power Editor for now. I'm just going to do Ad Manager because for right now it's just quicker to load. And I could probably just do it there, but I'll go to my account, and we're gonna create an ad, okay? And that way I'm not gonna create the whole ad. What I want to show you is the targeting. Okay, so we'll just say that this is a send people to your website ad, okay? That's as good a thing as any. And did I click it? Come on, dude. I'm frozen. Hang on. Let me just reset that. Reload that. Going so fast, I screwed up Facebook. I broke Facebook. All right, send people to your website. Why aren't you working? Okay. Well, that's interesting. Well, let's just try again. Fascinating. I love doing stuff live. All right, let's see. Ads Manager. Create an ad. And there we go. That's what it was supposed to be doing. All right, we don't care about the campaign for, that's not the point. This is. Okay. So this is your audience targeting in Facebook. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do now. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for an audience for cold traffic. I want to give Facebook, by cold traffic, again, the definition of cold traffic is people who, we talk about traffic or people on Facebook as being as temperature, cold, warm, hot. So hot is your customers, people who've already bought from you, right? Your rabid fans, they're hot traffic. People who already know who you are, they're on your email list, they consume your videos. That's warm traffic. People who have never heard of you before, that's cold traffic. Okay. And so the first thing we're doing, so we're looking for our target market out amongst cold traffic to try to bring them in, warm them up, and eventually get them hot, right? Okay. And we want to give Facebook anywhere from between, ideally, at least 1.5 million, which with this audience shouldn't be a problem at all. 1.5 million users, so that its algorithm can pick out from those 1.5 million, the 100 or 150,000 or so, who are most likely going to find our ad to be the most relevant. Okay. So by giving them a big pool, it helps Facebook help you. Okay. So I'm not just going to do the United States. I'm going to add in some other locations here, so we'll include, again, our target market could be the entire world here, but we're not going to do that for now. The other thing is, when I'm doing targeting, I have what I call the big four, but that's for me. It wouldn't necessarily be, includes Australia right here, but that wouldn't necessarily be the case for this market. So let's just do this. I'll go ahead and we'll put Sweden, and we'll put, all right, we'll just leave it at that, just for fun. The main reason I put Sweden in there, well, we'll just go ahead. We'll put now we'll just leave it at that. How about Ireland? Sure, why not? Okay, so that we could put a language in here. So right here, just so you could see that. Oops, I want to say English, right? And I could say English all, or I could do English UK and English US. There we go. Okay, so right now we're just going to leave this open. Okay, we're going to let Facebook find those people for us. We're not going to artificially limit them. At the moment, we're still at 243 million people. All right, now this is where it gets interesting. So this is your detailed targeting. All of that stuff that I just showed you in that big infographic, it's all in this one box, which is why I showed it to you that way, because it's really hard to see here. But you can see they've got demographics, interests, behaviors, and more. And then another thing that I want to show you is that we have the ability to start with a big group and then do basically ands and ors in this targeting. So I'll show you that. But here's what I'm going to do. Well, let me show you something. Facebook's just recently added a cool feature to this, where this is new, where when you use a target in your ads, like you can see the ones I've been using for mine, it now will say which of them are performing well for you and which aren't, right? So you can see once I get down here, Infusionsoft are still 4s, but down here, Armin Morand is 3, Page Admins down here, it's like Social Media Examiner is a 2, below average, right? So it tells you, and this is important because we had to split these out into multiple ad sets in order to be able to tell which of the targets, which audience was doing well and which weren't, because when we grouped them all together to make the 3 million, you couldn't tell if maybe Amy Porterfield was doing great and Frank Kern wasn't. There was no way to see that. Now they tell you that once you start using them. That's really, really helpful. And then they also, based on what you've been doing, which is again not relevant for this particular ad, but based on what you've been doing with your ads, they tell you, they make suggestions now, which is also new and super helpful. And so they will also do that once you start putting stuff in here. So let's just say I'm going to start with, because it's the biggest, right, Tony Robbins. So I start typing Tony Robbins and look what happens. So when it starts to auto-complete, he's got 7 million people of interest, right? And so as soon as I click that, immediately what Facebook starts to do is make suggestions. Oh, well, who else is like Tony Robbins? Okay, well, it already knows all that, and here they are, right? Now, this is a big group. I mean, that right there is 3.5 million people. Okay, so that needs to be its own ad set. Like, I don't want to keep adding people to that and give Facebook, more than that to work with, because it's too big. Okay. So if I was doing this, I would say Tony Robbins and I would make that one ad set. Okay. Now, if I wanted to, now I'm not going to, because here's the idea, you guys. So to begin with, I would run this as an ad set and I would see how it does, right? I would try to make an ad as specific to Tony Robbins people as I possibly could for my journal, right? And I'd put it out there and I'd see how it does. Because remember, for about the first 3 months that you start your campaign, you're buying data. You have no idea. About 80% of what you try doesn't work. You're searching for the 20% that does, so that then you can, scale that up. Okay. So remember, this is a game. When you start, you're going to have scores of like 1 and 2. And then over time, as you try things and you find what works, you'll start to be able to get those things up to into the 8s and 9s. Okay. So I would start with that, and I would write that ad, and then, and then go from there. Okay. Like, for example, if I was writing that ad, I'm not going to do this for everyone, but I would take some concept of Tony Robbins that every Tony Robbins person would glom onto and self-identify with. And I'm not coming up with the right one for this journal, but, find someone who gets the results that you want and do, and do what they do, right? That's a Tony Robbinsism or whatever it is, right? When in my Zig Ziglar ad, you can have everything you want in life if you just help everyone else get it, or see you at the top or whatever it is. Okay, well, I'm going to somehow work walking on fire. There you go, Al. Thanks. Right. Obvious. Whatever it is, so that those people, that's what makes that ad super duper relevant to them. Right. And they go, what, and then, but it's leading them towards your journal. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Now, so I'm going to run this one, but just to show you, because I don't want to redo all of them. All right. Well, let's just say that was my ad. Okay. Now let's just try something else and see where that goes. So let's just imagine that I did Tim Ferriss. 2 R's, 2 S's. Okay. So Tim Ferriss only has like 937,000. Okay. So that's good, because now what we can do, so we've got a reach right now of 680,000 people. We need at least 1.5 million if we can get it. So see how it starts making suggestions. One it didn't give us, by the way, is I was going to say Darren Hardy in Success Magazine. The other one it did not give us was David Allen and Getting Things Done on the time management front. So I'm going to put Tim Ferriss, Gary Vaynerchuk. Let's see. Where are we at? Oh, never mind. We're at 2.1 million. So that would be an audience, and I'd write an ad for those. Okay. And then let's try some other ones. So let's try Getting Things Done. Getting Things Done, 760,000. When I click that, now look, time management, Pomodoro, productivity, first things first, David Allen, the author. There's tons of things in here that we could work with, right? Franklin Covey is down here, I just saw. Anyway, so I would put some of those together into an audience, right? And I'd probably get 6, 7, 8 of these, because this one's so easy. This one's dead easy, actually. And then write, ads specific to them and see which ones worked. Okay. Does that make sense? So for this one. So, and let me just go somewhere with this, just to explain this to you guys. As a rule, in the B2C market, you're generally going to have more luck targeting what people are interested in over, some of the demographics. Now, that's not always the case, but in the beginning, for your cold traffic anyway, right? this is generally where you're going to start. You're going to be thinking about who are they? Who do they follow? What books do they read? What tapes do they listen to? What magazines do they read? Who are the thought leaders that they follow? Right? All of those things. And those are what you're going to use typically in B2C as targets. Now, I say that if you're selling diapers, okay, well, clearly not. That's going to be a demographic thing. New mom, blah, blah, blah. But still, you're probably going to overlay new mom with, I don't know, whoever's the new Dr. Spock or whatever. You know what I mean? Right. So, you're still probably, in order to get that relevance score up, the more of these, where you can find the intersection of demographics and interests is where you're going to get the higher and higher relevance scores, therefore the lower and lower cost, the higher and higher reach, the better conversion scores, which ultimately will hopefully lead to a paying customer at a profit. Okay. So this is how you do that. All right. There's one other, okay, well, let me just leave it at that. Do y'all have questions about that particular example? Do you need me to go further, or do you kind of have the idea on that? Janelle says, yes, makes sense. Now I just have to figure out how to apply it to my market. What's your market, Janelle? I mean, tell me, you can't just say, not the broad one. Give me one of the super specific ones. Because that's the problem, I think, is that you're thinking, I'm guessing, but that you might just be trying to say, well, small businesses are my market, or, okay, women fitness trainers and personal trainers. Okay. Yeah, I think you can actually do a lot with that. Nutritionists would be a different avatar, obviously. Yep. But women fitness trainers and personal trainers, I mean, again, like, who do those people follow? And so in like Janelle's case, okay, let me just show you guys something. So in Janelle's case, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to Google first, and I'm going to say top, hang on. I'm going to say top women's fitness, trainers. Okay. Here's a list complete with pictures. How about that? But I'm going to start doing some, so this is interesting, right? Men's fitness, 7 female trainers can kick your butt, right? I'm going to start finding, the most famous. Well, there you go. Famous, right? That people would probably follow. Okay. Now some of these maybe not who the professional themselves would follow. But all right, but at least I'm going to go there. And then the other sorts of things I'm going to do is, training for personal fitness trainers. Cause that's really who I want. Like, who are the gurus in the personal fitness, NASM, there you go. And this is one of the key things. Always look for an association, always look for events, look for certifications, right? So I'd be looking at all of these things, for example, and start to put those in your ad targeting. So let's just start with NASM, right? In your ad targeting, get this out of here and say women. And we actually probably just need the US, but if I did, National Academy of Sports Medicine, there we go. 479,000. So there's your certifying body, and there's a couple more, as you can see. Now look what happens, right? Look at all these. Personal Trainer Development Center, Perform Better, right? Certified athletic trainers, whatever. But I mean, and then you start with these, and then you do the same, and there's a bunch more that I haven't even found, right? I did that in just a couple minutes. But once you had that, then you'd start to run these, and then based on whichever one worked the best, then you would start finding out what you could about them, and people who like NASM, if that worked, then what do they like, right? And that's how you would branch off, and you do the same for nutritionists and anybody else that you're trying to target. Okay, so that's how you do it. You're looking for events, certifying bodies, anything that would tie your target market together and and that they tend to follow and other people do not. Carla says, okay, why would you want English US and English UK instead of English all? Yeah, exactly. Carla, I was just using that to illustrate options, just so you could see. You could just as easily do English all. Okay, good. Janelle says, got it. Okay. Karen says, I have a specific B2C market. Parents of children 5 to 14 years old interested in art classes for their children. I can select parents under demographics. How do I select those likely to be interested in kids' art classes from interests? Yeah. Okay. So that one's a little tougher. I'm glad that you asked that question. So what you end up doing in a lot of cases, because you don't really have a targeting option per se, is you're basically going to reverse engineer your group. So what you do is you start out, Karen, broad. And by that, I mean, you're just going to use the demographics, right? Parents of children, 5 through 14. Now, I'm probably going to make that the mom. This is like a generalization, but I'm probably not going to target the dad on that one. Not that dads aren't engaged, but I think the moms tend to do more of the planning. I might overlay in that. If you were going to do this in the States, I might consider overlaying a income strata over the top of that, but I don't know that that's necessarily going to work. But I would test that to, do people who, have household incomes of 50,000 and over, are they more likely to put their kids in art classes than people who have under? May or may not be relevant depending on what you're trying to sell or do. The other thing I might do is I would definitely start to look at like some of the maybe, this crazy stuff, but, interested in Montessori or interested in, actually, I mean, this is a funny thing, but what happens if you just put in art classes, for kids? No, don't really come up. Not really anything going to come up there. Arts and crafts. I mean, is the parent more likely to be interested in arts and crafts? I don't know that that's going to be true, but you could try it. But the point is, what you're going to do is you're going to start with something that's pretty big and broad, and then you're going to use, and this is the strategy a lot, you're going to use what's known as dog whistle copy. And dog whistle copy this is the other leg of that stool, okay, that I was telling you about. So this is where you use your copy and your offer, okay, the creative, to say, who is this ad for? So like the most obvious dog whistle copy is to say, interested in art classes for your kid? Can't find a great art class for your kid? That's called dog whistle copy, and you put it right at the top of your ad. And you use that a lot, even when you can get really specific in your targeting. That's part of the creative that makes it relevant, because what happens is you may be showing that ad to a bunch of people to whom it's not relevant, but they just go right over it. They don't interact with it. They don't, like it or dislike it or whatever, because they can see right away it's not for them, but it immediately calls out the people that it is for. And then over time, what will happen is you'll start to make custom audiences of the people who you finally find and who start reacting if you create good ads, right? And as you find them, then you can reverse engineering. You can reverse engineer them by taking the custom audience and putting that in your, because one of the things you can do, get over here to the ad manager. One of the things that you can do on the audience insights is you can use a custom audience. So once you've got them either as fans of your page, for example, or there we go, or no, not a lookalike audience. Hang on. So right here, you say custom audience. So if I have a custom audience that's big enough, I can feed that custom audience right in here. So for example, all website traffic of mine, over the last 180 days in the United States, I probably don't have enough. Yeah. So I don't have enough, but once you get it big enough, this will start to tell you, like, what other pages do they like? And so by attracting them, then you can reverse engineer them, and that becomes the strategy. Does that help? So then you say, then is a lookalike audience the right? No, it's never the right place to start. No. Well, okay, let me rephrase that. So you say we have 5,000 student families in our Infusionsoft database. Okay. It could be, for sure. I would test it, but that's just one. So yes, create a lookalike audience from your 5,000 families, assuming they're all, in the United States and they're big enough to create a lookalike off of. Test that. If you have fans on your page, I would try your friends of fans. Because that's always a great audience, because the people, birds of a feather tend to flock together. So that tends to work. And there's a social proof component to it, because they see that, so-and-so likes this, and then go at it. But you got to test multiple things. You're never, never, never doing just one thing. Do you need a Facebook pixel to do that? No, but you should have your Facebook pixel on your site. You're crazy if you do not. Should be the very first thing you do. How do you select income ranges? I tried doing that last week and couldn't find it. Right here. I need to move on to my B2B example, but it is right here in demographics. So all you do is go to browse and say demographics. And then again, this doesn't show up if you're not in the US, but right here under financial, you'll find both income right here and or net worth. Okay. So that is how you do that. Okay. Let's just do quickly, because the idea is going to be basically the same for our hotel. Okay. Yeah, Carla, that's why it's only financial data is only in the US, unfortunately. Yep. Okay. A lot of people hate that. All right. So let's just say, all right. So now, let's just get rid of this. Let's just say now I'm the 850 room convention hotel, and in a major metropolitan area. Now, and so I can go about this a couple of different ways, right? Depending on what it is, who my avatars are, right? Because again, I could have quite a number of different avatars. Am I looking for people local? Like, am I trying to attract local meeting planners for an 850 room convention hotel? I might want to do some of that, but I'm probably looking for big, conventions. I'm probably going to be close to the convention center, right? So I'm probably looking for big meeting planners like that. So if I was, wanting to get some, I just want to show you this. So let's say I was in Dallas, for example, okay, where I moved from. So just so you can see what the local targeting looks like. So right here, I can say, within, 10 miles of Dallas, 50 miles of Dallas, whatever. And that, or I can actually, drop a pin in as well into a map, and then tell it to find a radius around that. So I can do a lot of things. I can put an address in. There's a lot of things I can do here with the local targeting, which is great for things like, anything, restaurants, chiropractors, dentists, etc. But let's just assume that that's not my market. This avatar that I'm going after is not the local meeting planner, but more the entire United States. All right. So I'm just going to make that for now gender all. I'm going to let Facebook, do most of the work for me here. Now, what I needed to do here was, I started, by again, going to just Google and saying meeting planner, certification, I think is where I started, right? And I came up with, okay, Convention Industry Council, MPI, right? And some other things like that. PCMA. Okay. So I start, by the way, you would go a lot deeper than this, right? I'm just doing this so I can show you. But that's pretty good. So if I say Meeting Planners International, I might need to try that. Let's see. So I'm just going to start typing in meeting planners. And, okay. Wow. Well, that's interesting. Meeting and convention planner. Okay. And all of a sudden it starts suggesting a whole lot of stuff for me. Corporate meeting planners. Yep. Definitely interested in them. Let's see. The event planning. No. Event marketing. No. Event organizer. See, these are like, no. Interested in convention. No, because that could be, that could not necessarily be a planner. I'm going to go away from that for a second. Blah, 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 blah. I'd probably put some of these in. Now, these came up in my searches. So like, for example, Cvent is an event planning software that is used by event organizers, for example. I missed the somewhere MPI and some of these other. So let's see. MPI. Hang on. What did they call that? Meeting. Oh dear. Meeting planner. Keep editing. Sorry, I'm kind of getting in a hurry because we're running out of time. Meaning, you know, it's MPI. I looked it up before, and I thought it came up with just MPI. PI. Okay, well, we'll try it, but you get the idea. I don't think I really necessarily have to find this one. So your planner international. Well, I swear, no. I swear it came up before, but anyway, that's the sort of thing I'm looking for, right? So I'm looking for associations, particularly, you know, in this B2B space. I'm looking for tools. That's a really good one. You know, what is some tool that only this particular person would use, right? And I had a big long, when I was trying to do this earlier today, I ended up with a big long list of, you know, 1.5 million people. So you can definitely get to it. These people are all there. And then, you know, and what's my ad going to be? Well, you know, obviously, if I'm trying to get them to my convention hotel, I'm not going to immediately hit them with an ad saying, hey, come see my great convention hotel, right? I'm going to start talking to them about issues that are pain points for meeting planners, right? And start to frame those out gradually and then move them towards an opt-in, and then, you know, start to send them information about having their next event, you know, whatever. Maybe I cold call them or whatever, however you know, whatever my customer journey looks like for them. But this is how I'm going to find them, which is that first step. Okay. And then just one last thing I just want to show you because I didn't. So let me just give you an example, for example, of my own stuff so that you can see this narrowing the and and the or. So let's just say for my people, for example, that, so we'll just go here because it's fast. So let's just say that I want people who are interested in digital marketing for my program, right? But 4 million's too big. And specifically though, I'm going to narrow that. So see how it says and must also match at least one of the following. And this is where I use these demographics, right? So I could say, and Amy Porterfield or, you know, whatever, but right here, what I'm doing is I'm saying, 1 million to 2 million and 2 million and up. Nope, that's not it. Hang on. Come on, Kim, get it together. Recently used. There we go. Over 2 million is what it's called. All right. So now it's saying they're interested in digital marketing and they must have a net worth of over $1 million, basically, right? And that takes that down to 370,000 people. So see, this is called flex targeting, and they even show you in somewhere it just popped up a little. There we go. You know, that we're talking about the intersection of those two groups, okay? And that's your audience. So that's there as well, and that's really useful too, to start to say, you know, this group's too big, but those are, you know, I want some subset of those people, okay? Does that make sense for everybody? All right, we're at 6:30, which is the time that we were supposed to end, but I also promised that I would answer any and all questions for you guys, which I know that you've been asking as we go along, but I'm happy to answer anything that you might have, so feel free. Anything. Al, I'm thrilled that you are here. Okay. That is fun. Oh, this is great. So, where are you? Maybe you say this. I'm going to read this from Newt. Maybe you say it, but if in case you didn't, where are you? So he says, hello, Kim. Nice to hear you are a dog person too. You have no idea. By the way, I can teach you to get your dog to stop barking. I work with dogs and specialize in puppies. I have not found a way to target my audience properly. Maybe you have tips. My avatar is female, 35 to 55, working, married with children. So far it's good, but the last part I don't understand. My avatar is getting a puppy. How can I target this? I can't use dogs since only maybe 5% of those are expecting a new puppy. The rest is older dogs, and puppy as interest gives no results in my language. If I find a better way to do this, it would make a huge difference for me. Yeah, so again, I would like to know where you are, because that might make a difference in how you approach it, but I think the idea will translate. So if I was looking for someone who was getting a new puppy, Um, you may, Norway. Okay. So it may be a different way for you, because, here there's generally some kind of, they may give some buying intent, so to speak, by liking things before they go get the puppy. Right. So if I'm going to get the puppy and I don't know that much, then suddenly, I may start liking, here, I'm just making stuff up, but, Caesar Milan or what do they call the clicker training, puppy, puppy books, puppy, like, I don't know. I'd be looking for all of those kinds of sorts of things. Definitely, Ron says if they're buying a certain breed, problem with puppy books or websites is they're probably not going to be that big, big enough to show up in Facebook targeting. Trying to think where else I could go. Do they like, but that said, the other way I'm going to go here is if I just say dogs, interest in dogs, or hang on, or puppies, okay, which I know you said doesn't bring up that much in your country. Really, like all these, and like here, we have, just in the US, we have 500,000 with golden retriever puppies. But where I'm going to is I'm going to get as close to that as I possibly can, and then probably use, no pun intended, dog whistle copy to say, getting a puppy soon, and kind of reverse engineer those people. That may end up being the best that you can do. I got nothing like that. That is interesting. Hang on one second. So it just may be that Facebook doesn't know as much. Here, Norway. And if I say get rid of all this, and by the way, we won't keep everybody. We can talk to everybody, talk to you online or offline. But dogs and puppies, pug puppies, pound puppies, boxer puppies. So if I start adding these, so I've got Norway targeted, right? And now, granted, I've got just women. I don't have women, right? But if I just start to do something like this, no, I don't want that, because it's just starting me off down a track I don't want. Puppies, bull puppies, husky, Labrador, cute puppies, puppy lovers, golden retriever puppies. Oh, I see. That's total. Then it cuts it down a bunch. NorCal, that's us. I love golden retrievers. I love Labradors. Yeah. Well, but still, even if you can go through this and find and work your way up to, 20, 30,000 people, because here's the other thing that I would say. Well, that's interesting. I'm just using no language right now. So where was I going with that? Remember that when I say that we need 1.5 million for the algorithm, that's in the United States, and you've got to cut that down by like a tenth. So in almost any other, most other countries, then that number is more like, 150,000 is a huge audience in Australia, for example, or Norway. So you're just trying to put together enough people to basically get to that 150,000, and then try the dog whistle thing. Hey, about to get a puppy. Here's, go to my blog to read about, 3 things you must do with your puppy to make sure that they grow up to be good citizens, or whatever. In terms of why you don't see that part, I do not know. I don't know kind of the difference in targeting and what you see versus what we see. I am not sure. About that, unfortunately. But you're gonna have to play in there, and that's sort of the general idea. Okay. What else? Obviously, it's a lot easier for us in the States, obviously, because we know Facebook knows more about the people in the States than they know about anywhere else. But there's still a lot of targeting opportunities outside the States as well. You are very welcome. My pleasure. Any other questions I can answer before I let you guys go? All right. Thank you. Thanks, Nadine. Thanks, everybody. All right. Well, you guys have been awesome. I appreciate it. I hope you find this helpful. If you are not already in the Facebook Ad Questions group, be sure to join over there. It's our Facebook group. It is here. I'll just show it to you in case you haven't been. It is right here. I know you're all on my email list because you've, it's right here. And I'll put this in the chat so that you have it. And there you guys go. And no, Ron, thank you for offering. Unfortunately, based on my limitations, I think I got it figured out. But thank you for offering. All right, you guys, talk to you soon. Let me know what questions you have. Put them in the Facebook ad group, and tell everybody that you know who might be interested in Facebook or Facebook advertising about us, and share, and we'll see you guys later. Thanks. Bye-bye.